Hey everybody, I'm Kelly Ellers,
I'm Jeffrey London.
and this is Volume Up by the Tees. So Jeff, you know that I don't have daughters,
This
right?
is this is true.
And you have three of them.
I do.
And I wrote a book. I wrote a book for those three gals. I did.
Yes. You wrote a book
I
for
wrote about
those
all the
gals and
gals.
all of them. Exactly. Your
And
nieces.
my little baby girl, landed my little sample, my
Look at her.
Amazon. Look at her. Isn't she cute?
I mean, the
She cute.
unboxing, she's very cute.
She cute.
It's a solid reveal. The unboxing was
There's
incredible.
me in the back.
There you are. It's official.
It's a fish. Nice girls win official. Is this how the girly pops do it, Jeff?
They
Like
hold it like a
this? Like this?
like this.
Woo!
There we go.
Like this. So I have a call to action for our audience, and you might be
Mm,
getting an email about this soon, everybody. But if you want to be part of my readers tribe, now's the time. Go to nicegirlswin.com, sign up, and I will send you the first two chapters of her. Of
boom.
her.
Boom.
There you go.
Easy.
So
Does it
there,
feel
it's a little
real now?
something. It does, but the one of the realest moments, is that a word? Realist?
Yeah.
Most real moments was when
Mm.
somebody called me an author. And I was like, who that? Like what?
It me. It me.
Me, girl.
Wow, 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 wow.
So
Oh,
yeah, and that
congrats.
happened in Miami when I was on a TV spot for NBC, which was lovely as well. And so
Hmm.
I'm just check. And you said you heard me at the top of this podcast say, hurry up, let's go, let's start, because
Hmm.
I got a lot of things to do.
Places to be, things to do.
But nowhere
And
more important than here with you.
well, we thank you. We thank you. But make sure you guys take advantage of that and get
Yes,
into this chapter. The first two
get
chapters,
into
that's
it.
crazy. So
Yeah, they're good.
where do they go again?
Nicegirlswin.com.
Easy.
Head there.
All right, let's get into the show, shall we? We're
Let's.
going to do Obsessed or Over It. You guys know the deal. We react to product, services, trends, decide if they're a hit or a miss. We're going to break down what's worth the hype, what isn't, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, also go to the show notes to see the links as we're responding to them in real time. We're seeing them for the first time here, or go to our Instagram. The first thing that we got is the morning shed routine.
Wow. I'm going to click on that. That sounds like I don't want that.
Um, well, I'm glad it's like a shedding of like skin
Oh,
stuff. I was worried.
oh.
I was worried it was a trick.
Same. I was like, I don't want my hair to shed in the morning. But, I can relate to this. What I've been doing lately are the little face gym patches right here because I'm not liking this that's
Sure,
happening right here.
sure.
So I sleep in those.
Hmm.
And sometimes I sleep in eye masks.
Hmm.
But this is basic her peeling off her bonnet, her mouth tape, her moisturizer, her patches, her flexi hair rods.
Invisaligns too, it seems like there was
Oh,
something going on in the mouth. Yeah, it's a lot.
it's a lot to
It's quite
shed.
satisfying to look at.
Totally. I love it. And it's working overnight. Like, let's get it, shall we? It's working overnight.
So I'm obsessed with the video. This seems like a lot of things that I would not be able
You
to
wouldn't?
accomplish. No, that's a lot of
Oh,
stuff. I mean, it's not that I wouldn't. I'm saying me personally, I would not do it in my current state.
okay.
If I were unencumbered, unburdened by the world, maybe I would be able to do such a
Okay.
routine. But I love it for her, and I
I do
enjoy
too.
watching the shed. So from
I
that
like to
end,
shed.
I'm obsessed.
Shed your goodies.
Gross.
That
Gross.
is so gross.
No, we don't like that.
Oh wow. Okay,
Yep.
no.
All right.
Delete, control,
Yep.
alt, delete. Okay.
Uh, next up, watercolor blush.
Oh, cute. So Allure is saying that this is one of the easiest ways to embrace spring with a radiant blush.
Hmm.
And I like a blush. I like a flush cheek because I
Hmm.
think it does look youthful and radiant. And I
Hmm.
also I really like a highlighter.
I'm all
You know,
about this. I think what's
that's
interesting
cute.
is like blush is really, really having a moment, and it's making me
Huh.
think of there's quite a lot of discourse online, repainted by Esther and Patrick Ta,
Yeah.
basically ripping her off entirely.
Ooh. Oh,
And this Allure story makes me sort of think of that same vein, like that it is so. I don't know, like
of the
top
moment.
of, yeah, like this
Of the
blush,
moment.
high blush placement. This is obviously more diffused and it's sheer
Hmm.
and again meant to look more watercolor than some of the other sort of more obvious blush placement that we're seeing. But anyway, I think like there's obviously something in the zeitgeist about this. Um,
My all-time favorite, and I'm gonna have a hard time saying this word. I don't think I can. My all-time
Give it a
favorite.
shot. Where are we going with that?
uh okay. My all-time favorite blush is just beautiful like this, and it's NARS.
Hmm.
And I, I can't say.
You can't say it. Okay.
Okay, it's NARS Orgasm Blush.
You can say it. Yeah.
I said
Okay.
it.
Are
It's
you
fantastic.
are you
Yeah.
doing the placement like this? I mean, this is really
A
like
little
high
bit,
pla
a
yeah.
little, but I don't want it to go over my bronzer or like my contouring. So I have to be careful
I
about that.
understand. I understand.
So,
You might want to sort of experiment though. Get
okay,
in there.
I'll get in
I'm
there.
obsessed by
Woo.
this. This is yeah, we're all about it. Two for two. Love Island. What do we need to know? The first week.
I'm not watching it. So feel free to unleash what's happening. Should I be watching it? Is it too late
It's
to
never
get
too
in
late.
there?
No, 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 it's never too late.
Okay.
I feel like we were just on the island in the villa, and so I struggle that we're already coming back so quickly. I know like we must return, obviously. Um, I'm not I'm not currently watching, but it's early. So what I do love and what I am obsessed with, transparently, is all of the discourse online. Like I love people's
Yeah, it's
reactions to all of
great.
this. I feel like that's the
Fantastic.
best way to meet some of the what are they called? Not contestants.
I don't,
They're not the
Islanders?
bombshell. Yeah, Islanders.
Islanders.
I feel like the best way to meet some of these Love Islanders is via the memes and the things.
I
Like
do
that's
too.
how you know like who
We
should I
break
be
it
paying
down.
attention to? Because some of them
Hmm.
are real duds. Like you know,
Are
like you
they?
invest.
Oh,
Oh yeah, you like you think like oh they get some screen time or they worthwhile and they're not, and then they sort of move the center to
oh.
the next baddie. So yeah, I'm waiting to see who's sort of rising to the top before I get overly invested. I am interested in Sierra Miller and her
Mm,
participation. She
okay.
just posted about going to Fiji, which is where presumably they're
I
shooting.
would go there. Uh-huh. I would go.
Would you? So if you,
I don't think I'd go on the island.
no, okay, but you would go to Fiji.
For
I
sure.
look. I appreciate
Mm,
that.
thank you.
I feel strongly about same. So I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed that people are so happy about it. Like we do need a bright spot, and I think Love
We
Island
do.
definitely delivers on that.
It delivers.
And it's perfect for summer, right? Like yeah. So look, obsessed.
Maybe I'll get into it.
You should. Let's
Yeah.
we could be a Love Island recap show. Like that
Oh,
might
we
be the next
could. I
pivot.
bet we get some hits on that.
I think so. I mean, like, and certainly the hair. Like, there's plenty to talk about in terms of
Actually, we
beauty and
should.
grooming choices.
Okay,
So,
I'll see you next week.
you've heard it here, everybody.
All right, today on Volume Up by the Teas, we're joined by Annabel Hay. Annabel is the founder and CEO of Clutch Glue. After a flimsy piece of fashion tape caused her most embarrassing wardrobe malfunction at a nightclub back in 2017. Oh, those were days to be alive.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Annabel dedicated the next 4 years of her life inventing and globally patenting the first glue alternative to fashion tape. I love this. I need some. Here we
This
go.
is such a
Print.
good interview.
Oh
Also,
my
like,
gosh.
to be clear, she's Australian and has like the most delightful accent. So, like,
Love.
buckle up for that. Like,
We're
I
here for
feel like I
that.
should just disclose that because it makes for a much more enjoyable experience.
Fantastic. We love an Australian accent.
Absolutely.
All right. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok at Read the Teas, and send in questions to volumeuptheteas.com.
But before we get there, let's talk Tease beauty news, shall we? Now that I've got a voice, we can really get into it.
Let's do
The
it.
first story that we've got is what to know about WeDad's certification program. Pros, if you want to become a curl expert, WeDad's certification program may be just the thing for you. The WeDad certification program is a 2-day hands-on training designed for experienced stylists to master WeDad's proprietary curl cutting, styling, and client care techniques, helping them, you, to become
Mhm.
certified curl experts within the brand's professional community. Quote, at WeDad, certification is about far more than learning how to cut curly hair. It's about giving the stylist the confidence, technical foundation, and curl-specific expertise to truly transform their business behind the chair, end quote, says Jocelyn Smith, Senior Director of Education at WeDad. She adds, quote, through our proprietary cutting and styling methodologies, consultation approach, and product prescription education, stylists leave equipped to deliver a consistent, elevated experience for every curl type while building stronger client loyalty, increased service revenue, and long-term authority within the textured hair space, end quote. Read more about this at thetease.com to get involved, including the upcoming dates. And there are a couple of classes right around the corner. So if you're
There
interested,
is.
get in on that. Kelly, how are you feeling about again the return of like in-person,
Love.
very tailored education?
I think it's fantastic. I think it's so important and so needed. And it's like we're having this resurgence of in person,
Hmm.
and we need it. I mean, we're creative beings. We need to be around people. We need to hug people. We need to have hands and hair. And I
Hmm.
love this education on curly hair. The industry needs more of that, right?
10 out of 10. I mean, like there could be like 50 million more of these
Right.
classes. So
Exactly.
there's just a few. So if you are interested, again, go to thetease.com, learn which classes are happening where, and sign up. Get your tickets.
Get your tickets. All right, Sacred and Bay Good are investing 250,000 into the future of hair education. Hallelujah. Sacred and Bay Good Foundation are doubling down on their commitment to the next generation of hair pros, and this year they're going bigger. Founded by Beyonce Knowles Carter, Sacred and the Bay Good Foundation share a common thread: the belief that talent shouldn't be stopped by a tuition bill. Tina Knowles, Sacred's vice chairwoman and chair of the board of directors at Bay Good, knows this firsthand. As a licensed cosmetologist and former salon owner, I'll never forget my own beginnings at Franklin School and the pure passion it takes to succeed in this craft, she shares. And with tuition costs climbing, that passion alone isn't always enough. Now in its third year, Sacred and Baygood Fund is awarding 250,000 in grants across 10 partner institutions in the US and the UK, with each school receiving 25,000 to support students on their path to licensure. Head to thetease.com to learn more about the program and the recipients. I love this. Let's hand it out. Let's just hand it out. Let's
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah, no, this is
Bay
incredible. And
good.
we love when Sacred and B are like they're doing the right thing here.
There.
And we love this is the third year, so it's not a flash in the pan. They are
Yes.
dedicated to this, which we love to see. So I'm all about this. Congrats to them. Congrats to the recipients. Again, more deets on thetease.com. Thank you so much to our contributors and editors for this week's beauty news. And don't forget to check out stories like these over on thetease.com.
All right. Jeff, I'm going to bring up today in the news a little something something that I wrote, and
Uh-huh.
that is on rollingstone.com. And I've been on this journey and I've always had this mission that nice girls win, right? So we
Hmm.
saw the book at the top of the hour. Nice Girls Win is my new book that's coming out, my first book
Yeah.
that's coming out the end of summer. And this article talks a little bit about the quiet power that women were taught to abandon. And in it, I talk about the word nice. And I think that
Hmm.
we've been told a lie about the word nice. It's not the
Oh,
proverbial pat on the head, shove you in the corner, be dismissive. Nice to me can actually be very disarming because people don't expect it anymore, right? Have you ever been called nice, and what was your feeling around it? Right. It's like a beige wall.
yeah,
It's a
no, I
beige
don't
wall.
I don't think people describe me as nice. So
Seriously? Oh my God.
think at a first glance. I don't think anybody's ever said you're so nice.
Oh my God.
But
I think
also
you're
you
so
do wonder,
nice.
well, I know. I
Yeah,
will thank you.
of course.
But I don't know that everybody does. But I think that this gets at what you're getting at, which is this is entirely gendered, where women
Totally.
are expected to be things that they are not, or things are put upon them that they are not asking for, that society demands of them, that limits them and does all
Right.
sorts of things. And yeah, like you really get into this in this article, as you do in the book. So I'm glad that
As
we
we
get to
do.
share a little bit about this. Go to rollingstone.com. We'll have it in the show notes. And then, as we said at the top of this pod, go to nicegirlswin.com if you want to get the first two chapters of Kelly's upcoming book.
Let's do it. All right. Thanks for letting me share.
Of course. Something a little bit petty that is like thematically linked because we did see the cover. And if
Yes.
you're watching this on YouTube,
Oh,
and yeah, you see
mm-hmm.
where I'm going. We got pink. And this
Right.
story that came across our desks
It's
is
like,
of a shade. What do we need to know about?
yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know. I mean, she's always in the news, and I don't think this is necessarily newsworthy. And I
Hmm.
totally disagree with this. But Woman at Home is saying, forget red. Jennifer Aniston's petal pink pedicure is as versatile and chic as it gets. No, it's not. I think red is. I think it's
So,
boring. I think it's super, super boring. And why is a nude petal pink making the headlines? Jeff, what
I mean, these are important questions that I'm glad that we're asking
are
here. Yeah,
hard
there's
hitting? Yes, hard hitting news today.
well, and this is yeah, I don't really I mean, it's kind of like as basic as it gets. It's like
It's like
it's a
a beige
barely
wall.
there
Yeah, it's a
pedicure situation, which like sure is very versatile and works for because it's meant to look like you don't have a pedicure. Like,
I think that red is the most classic, timeless, and you would be surprised. I get compliments on my red nails literally almost every day.
mm.
Starbucks, you name it. Like, oh, I love your nails.
What
It's just,
about toenails? Would you?
they're red.
They're also red.
Yes, they must
Okay.
match.
Are they, oh, the same shade or like a
Indeed.
slight? Oh,
No, no,
okay. Okay.
no, no.
Oh.
I think they should match.
I love
Don't
this.
you think they should match?
I mean,
Does that?
I've not gone so far as to have a proper
No way.
pedicure
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
with color. Like I like feet, sure, like clean up my feet. I just I have such like weird, ugly feet that I
Ew.
don't think that I would want to accentuate them with a color. But of course, it makes all the
Okay.
sense in the world that it would be the same shade. Why not? Yeah,
I
this is just like
feel like
a
that's
slow day over at whatever
what we
outlet this
do.
was.
I want to know to the pros out there, do we think that the toenails should match your fingernails? Because I've always said 110% yes. Like
The
there's no
same
other
shade,
option.
never like
Yes.
a sort of
No.
contrasting
No.
works together
Mm-mm.
of
No.
a okay.
No.
Interesting. Well, this I think
Yeah. So
will
we want to know.
ignite some combo. What do you all do? Like, what is the pro opinion on the matter? But
Yeah.
then, like
What's
in
protocol?
practice, what are you all doing?
Mm.
Do you, Madeline? Let's phone a friend. Or do you
They
always
have to
match,
match, right?
or are they different?
I don't always match.
Ew.
So, so I don't know that I am the best.
Okay,
I do prefer a light pink on my toenails.
like a
Ew.
barely there shade.
Yes, because I just don't, again, like Jeffrey, I don't really want to bring like
Attention.
attention
I
to my
understand.
toes.
Oh,
So I do like a barely there one so that it like just it looks
Like
nice,
an
but
elevated version of
yes.
what you're already working with.
Yeah,
Whereas Kelly
okay,
is
exactly.
like,
fine.
fuck that. It's gonna
So I
be
Fuck
do
that.
bright fire
exactly.
engine
So I do
red.
fun nails, but then I do like a barely there toenail so that you don't like pay attention to
That
them.
it's just like
Huh.
goes blends in.
See,
I
again,
don't really like open-toed shoes.
that's
So,
that's what that's why I'm
I
asking. I feel like
mean,
I've never,
like,
again, not that I'm a
no,
weirdo about feet, like I'm not clocking your feet,
looking my feet. I mean,
but I
I'm a
don't think
shoe
I've ever
gal.
seen you are, but you're a closed
I'm a
shoe.
pointed toe, closed front. I like a pump, 4
hmm
inches. Yeah.
hmm Okay. But again, if your feet were revealed, the toenails would be red. Again, everybody please weigh in here. Is there a right or wrong?
Are we a foot
Who's
of feet podcast now? Like, are we?
first
Don't put my feet pics out there.
clip it, clip it. I don't even want to know what kind of horrifying rating that I would get. Yeah, that would just
Maybe
be
we should just clip it too. Like, we
yeah,
should
just
just
put it out there. Split screen with our feet
obsessed or
pics.
over it. Like, yo, we're over it.
We are both over it, but people
Oh,
people are
Lordy.
obsessed with feet.
I love this. They are. So it's my treat to you.
So, all right, listeners, please chime in here. So get at us in our DMs, get at us in our emails. Are you always doing what Kelly's doing and having the same, or are you changing it up? I don't know that I have a strong opinion either way, other than again, my feet are
Yeah.
ugly and I'm not painting my toenails.
Then
There's
don't.
that.
We just keep them covered.
Let's absolutely. You're never gonna find these things in the free.
All right. Now stay tuned for our interview with Annabel.
Annabel Hay is the founder and CEO of Clutch Glue. After a flimsy piece of fashion tape caused her most embarrassing wardrobe malfunction at a nightclub back in 2017, Annabel dedicated the next 4 years of her life inventing and globally patenting the world's first glue alternative to fashion tape. After finding virality almost instantly, Clutch quickly became an international phenomenon, revolutionizing the way that we wear and enjoy our clothes. From being coined the best Shark Tank pitch of all time, true story, to closing the world's largest pre-seed capital raise for an FMCG company and making the Forbes 30 under 30 list in 2025, her philosophy for building Clutch has been shaped by transferable skills from her career as a construction manager, helping position her as one of the most practical founders in this space. Annabelle, welcome to Volume Up. How's it going?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We are thrilled to have you, and always a treat to have people from, I was going to say down under. I do it every time. It's such
I
a
love it.
cliche. No, 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 no. It's awful. But it's so fun to have Aussies. The energy that you all bring, we love it. So anyway, look, let's get into it. We start at the beginning always. For people that are maybe not familiar with you and your journey, how did you find yourself in what is sort of technically the beauty space?
Yeah, great question. Kind of by accident, kind of on purpose. I think like
Okay.
any good founder's story, there's never quite the linear path that you think it takes to get here.
Hmm.
But honestly, all Clutch was born out of necessity in a nightclub. There is a very sweaty, dirty nightclub called Chinese Laundry, which is in Sydney. I was about 19 at the time. I was in college. I was with my friends. Obviously, I was doing a full-time construction management degree, working
Which
full-time in
we got to get
construction
into.
management.
That's wild. Yep.
Yeah. And of course, like any young girl with too much disposable income, I spent all my money on clothes and clubbing, really. And obviously, it's legal in Australia to drink from 18. So what I'm
Hmm.
saying right now is not illegal.
Yep.
We used to go out all the time. And every Wednesday night at Chinese Laundry was this huge thing. And my friends and I from college, we would, get ready together and we'd pre together and we'd go to the club. And they always had really great DJs playing. This one fateful night we decided to go, I was wearing this god awful jumpsuit that had this big plunging neckline that went basically down to my belly button. And I spent 45 minutes trying to fashion tape myself into this jumpsuit. And for anybody that's used it before, you'll know that it's incredibly not user friendly. There's all these strips and it's sticking to you and
Hmm.
you can't quite get the placement right. And it's not strong, it's not sweat resistant, and there's just so much single use waste involved with the process too. I remember being incredibly frustrated about this over a long period of time when I was discovering my sense of fashion and clothes and things. And this one fateful night, I took 45 minutes to take myself into this. And then me and my
Relatable.
friends, relatable, exactly. We've all been there. And then within a second of arriving at the club, I started to sweat and it all came off. And I flashed everybody in the vicinity, including the DJ who was a small DJ at the time. He's really famous now. His name is Dom Dollar. And I was so embarrassed and so frustrated with the situation that then I spent the entire night just holding myself into my jumpsuit like this. And I just thought in that moment, I went, wouldn't it just be so much easier if I could just glue myself into my clothes? And then I was like, oh, hang on, that's actually not a bad idea. And then I went home and I was like, well, surely somebody else has thought about this before, right? Like, I've never had an original experience. Surely somebody
Mhm.
else has done this. And then I spent all night researching, and there was nothing on the market that was a glue alternative to fashion tape. There were obviously wig glues, there's eyelash glues, there's all of
Mhm.
these kinds of adhesives on the market, but
Mhm.
there was nothing that was purpose built to do what I wanted it to do, which was a sweat resistant but water soluble, seriously strong clothes adhesive that won't ruin my clothes, compatible with all fabrics, is vegan, hypoallergenic, and the packaging is made of 100% recycled and recyclable materials. And then in that moment, I went, well, I've got my scope. We can get men to the moon. I can invent glue. So then I spent 4 years inventing and globally patenting this glue. That part I obviously didn't realize at the time was probably going to be quite as lengthy and difficult, but really glad at the end of the day that we've stuck it out because it's, I think, I don't like to say overnight success, but it's been a particularly successful thing in quite a short period of time.
So, what do you chalk that up to? I mean, obviously, 4 years of getting the formulation right, all of these
Yeah.
things, and there's been some success. I can speculate as to what that, but I'd love to hear about it from you. What do you sort of attribute this overnight success to be?
Well, I would just think that, like, when I was doing construction management, all of it was about just getting a job done, being
Hmm.
efficient, not fluffing around. I think being a good communicator, understanding that also when my phone rings, it rung only for bad news. I never had somebody calling me being like, thanks so much for doing that for me. Like, it was only ever tradies or clients, tradies being a tradesperson like a builder, and clients calling me, yelling at me for different various reasons. And
Sure.
that I think just really managed my expectations in terms of what I knew the journey was going to be like. It was going to be bumpy, it was going to be unexpected. And I think that that really kept my expectations at bay. And then when it kind of came to the success of Clutch, I think honestly that also whittled down to the fact that it's a product that just I needed. And I think that really quickly that resonated with our audience, where it was like, oh, this girl that has invented something for her that has satisfied her needs. And it turns out that we all are the same and have the same experience and the same grievance with fashion tape. So I think that, when we started connecting with our audience online, mainly through TikTok and Instagram, people just knew that it was authentic and people knew that it was coming from a place that was satisfying a genuine need and a gap in the market.
Tell me when I mean, obviously you had this experience, which again, as I say, sort of jokingly relatable, but it is. I mean, I myself have not been in this situation, but I'm very familiar with friends and family that have. Um, when you talk about the frustrations of fashion tapes, which we are sort of accustomed to, what are some of the pain points? I mean, you had mentioned like the how sticky, not sticky, the single use of it all.
Hmm.
I'm sort of curious about those workarounds when you knew you didn't want to go in that direction, because I would
Yeah,
imagine it would have been far easier to just sort of innovate on the adhesive strip. You didn't go that route, so
totally.
why did we go into glue as a standalone product? I mean, it is glue. Glue is maybe not the best word, but I'd love to understand like that sort of determination.
Without a doubt. So I think also, the grievances with fashion tape, as much as as you said, it's not particularly strong. It's not hypoallergenic at all. The amount of friends and family that I know that have like burnt their skin off, they've had
Hmm.
blisters, they've got
Hmm.
scars and things like that on a part of your body that is really
Yes.
sensitive,
Hmm.
and something that also people take pride in, right? And so I think that that was something that I knew had to change. And I think that as women, we just kind of put up with a lot of this stuff where you really don't have to. And so I just knew that there was a really big opportunity there to satisfy that kind of innovation in that market. It was just a completely boring market sector, and it was really just repurposed from the hardware aisle, to be honest. And so that's kind of, I just knew that there was a big opportunity there, but also I was thinking about all the different ways that I could use glue in that I couldn't use fashion tape. For
Mm.
instance, I use it on my slingback heels so that they don't fall off. I use it on my socks so they don't fall into my shoe. I use it on my pants for a temporary hem. I use it on my necklace clasps to keep them on the back of my neck. I can use it on silk scarves, even saris and things like that to hold them up and keep them in place on my head. And so there's such a range of uses that fashion tape could never satisfy. And I think that that just opened us up to this huge market of opportunity where people were like, oh my God, I can use it on my bike shorts. Like, what do you mean? And I think that there was so much power and so much engagement with it so quickly because it was finally an answer to problems that people were just putting up with for far too long.
So not only that, which is in it itself, I mean, enough of an innovation, but you've referred to the formulation a number of times that it is
Yes.
hypoallergenic, that you have thought through things that again, particularly in the States, we love to sort of just innovate on the same thing. Formulation is often of last concern when it ought to
Yeah.
be primary. You've made it primary. So I'm
Primary.
curious about sort of why did you go in that direction?
Yeah.
Again, I have my own sort of inkling, but I want to hear about it from you. You're the founder.
So I think, when you're innovating in a market where you've got a brand new formulation that you're trying to bring, patenting it is incredibly important. Protecting your
Hmm.
IP in different ways is so important. And I think that we live in such a world of dupe culture and people
Of
just
course.
deciding to claim things as their own. And I think that
Hmm.
that was the most important to me is if I was going to lead this market, I needed to make sure that I was covered in all the different areas. I would say that the main problem with patenting things is that it's incredibly expensive and quite a time consuming process.
Yep.
And so for me, that was something that we had to stage over a period of time. So when we actually launched a market with patent pending, and then over that period of time, now that we've been on the market, we have received that global patent. Basically, I think it's patented in over 60 countries. And
Wow.
with a lot of the money that we firstly made from selling Clutch, that went pretty much straight towards manufacturing more stock, a tiny bit into marketing, and mostly into our legal fees. And I must
Mm.
say that at the time, that might feel like you want to trust the world, but unfortunately in this market, you just can't. And so that was something that I had to take quite seriously. And I had the right advice too, to say that that was the most important asset. And I must say that now that we've raised capital and now that we've, got investors on board, that
Hmm.
was the most enticing thing to these investors was that I had a patent. And I just know how much it takes to both monetary wise, both cash flow wise, and also just an attitude wise to run a business. And I think that that was a major asset to us was being able to go into these conversations and being like, this is novel, this is new, and this is IP protected. So any competitor that decides to pop up in space will either take down or they can't come close. That's that.
So, I mean, it's been a minute. Have you seen I mean, you referred to dupe culture. Have you seen people that have sort of come to market with a similar concept? Do you feel like people are riding your coattails?
Similar concept for sure, but the actual formula, absolutely not. They cannot come close to it. And it takes a long time to make. I think that this is something that people don't think about is, lead times on product can be long, especially when there is so much science that goes behind our product that doesn't in a lot of other products and a lot of other glues and adhesives. And I think people just look at a cheap product that they can get off Alibaba and they go, great, that's probably Clutch. It's not. And I think that there's so many other ways as well that we reach our audience that they cannot and don't, because a lot of the time we are such a founder-led story as well. And so when we speak to our audience, when we show up for our audience, me and my sister show up and we go to events, we do all this guerrilla marketing and stuff and really speak to our audience firsthand. And a lot of people that do dupe things are not founder-led people because they know that they're ripping somebody's idea off and they are too shameful to get in front of the camera and plug the product themselves. And I find like that is the main difference between dupes and people that are the original. And honestly, we might want to say that consumers are dumb. They're not dumb. They know exactly what they're doing. And I think a lot of the time people might be more enticed to buy a cheaper alternative, sure, but then they'll know that it doesn't work like Clutch works and they will always revert back. And that is a completely natural cycle. And I think that if you're trying to take down these competitors, I just think it's a waste of energy. I honestly just block it out.
And you've been doing a really nice job of that. I mean, you referred to this, that you and your sister feature in content, that you really
Yes.
do get the founder sort of story. It comes to life via your content.
Yeah.
I would imagine this will be a mainstay. Like, what's your POV? I mean, does it get old? Is this something that I mean, it seems to have connected. So I'm curious about that strategy.
We love it. And I think that's what makes me tick. I think that also when people run a business, I think that they get their priorities completely wrong. The end customer is the top of the pyramid. I actually don't like to think of business as this pyramid. I think a lot of people can think about founders and CEOs as like, at the top of the pyramid and the customers are the bottom feeder. Absolutely not. It actually runs in this circle. And all I'm thinking about is what the customer needs from me and what's going to satisfy their demand. And I think that unfortunately, over the past couple of years and in the past 10 years, we've seen a shift in that reprioritization, which isn't right. We need to go back to who is paying our bills at the end of the day, and it's the customer. And prioritizing them first and foremost is the only thing that we think about 24 hours a day. And so what's a way that we can access these people, communicate with these people, understand what maybe isn't working for them, or what haven't we communicated with Clutch that we could communicate to them. And most of our ideas, if not all of them, in terms of new product development and in terms of how you can use the product and how we speak about the product, all come back to how we've communicated with them. And so us showing up for them is just as much a benefit to us as it is for them and communicating with us. And I think that that is a sense of community amongst your brand is how you get people that are loyal and communicate with us candidly. And I really appreciate that parasocial relationship that we have with each other. And so I think that that's something that a lot of people probably do wrong that we have done right, and that has held us in really good stead. Also, just I get a kick out of it. It's really cool to actually meet these people in person and for them to be like, oh, I bought it here and I bought it there and I use it on this and I use it on that and I use it on my dad and I use it on my mum and all of this kind of thing. And that genuinely is the only thing that fills me with so much pride, so much pride. And that kind of satisfaction is second to none, and you can only get it from showing up for your audience.
So, I mean, you talking about this sort of parasocial, having access to you being front and center.
Yeah.
You said that it's a motivator. Is it at all ever scary? Do you find that there's like boundaries that you put out? Like, what does that look like? I mean, again, I'm just curious.
I also, too, what I love though is that these people are confident enough to come up to me, which means that the way that I perceive myself and the way that we come across on social media is incredibly genuine to me. I'm the same, regardless of whether I'm online or in person. And I really love that people have confidence in that and love coming up to us. And that is just only a reflection of the positivity that we put out there into the world, and we get that back.
I love that. It's just so refreshing to hear you talking about this because often it is sort of reverse engineered. There's a white space. Let's get this product. How do we reach these people? Versus, I mean, you are really thinking about all aspects and constantly. Tell me about the team. So you mentioned it's you and your sister in content.
Yes.
How big
Yep.
is the team now? I mean, it's obviously not just you. What is that like? So it's not just
Yeah.
founder, but it's like
So
it's boss and all of these other things.
totally, totally. So at the moment, when we first started, my sister, she was a copywriter for a long time, worked
Hmm.
at Ogilvy
Oh,
doing a lot
fortuitous.
of, for doing a lot of that. And so the construction manager advertising background sort of really worked for us to join forces and come
Hmm.
together. When we first launched, it was the 1st of December 2022. And for Christmas that year, I gave her 15% of the company. And I just went, I just think we should do this together. And she had come to me a few times being like, this is really exciting. And I think that we could do something really, really great. And I went, great, there's only one person in this life that I trust more than myself, and it's her. And we've always got along really well as siblings as well. I wouldn't recommend all siblings go into business together,
I was
but
gonna
for
say, let's
me,
get, but it's worked for
for
you.
me, it really works, and we've always got along really well. And so it just seemed like the perfect dynamic. And what also really worked from the get-go was that we sort of had our own barricades as to what we did and didn't do. And so I think that a lot of tension that I see in other brands
Hmm.
are that it's maybe two creatives or two business people, and it's like, no, 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 you can't have the same two people doing the same job. Like, you need to kind of have some kind of structure around it. And so we
Hmm.
just never stood on each other's toes, and we sort of just really collaborated well, and we really bounced ideas off each other, but we knew kind of who the final decision maker was. And so for the first 2 years, that was us. We were still working our full-time jobs and doing Clutch full-time.
Wild.
And it was wild. We worked like absolute dogs. I look back on that period of time and I'm like, who was I? Like, that is amazing.
Mhm.
And so that's what we did. We packed all the orders from my bedroom in my share house in Bondi, got friends over to pack orders and stuff, paid them in pizza. It's
Mhm.
hilarious. Like, you really think about those startup initial days of business, and I'm like, oh my God, that is truly just like any other startup story, isn't it? And so then I think the main thing that we realized we needed once we did our cap raise was we just need somebody who is doing the operations. We need to make sure that, when we're delivering to retailers, when we're delivering to customers, whatever that might be, we just kind of need someone to take over that workflow,
Mhm.
automate a bunch of processes that were quite manual at the time. We had, 700 spreadsheets doing things. And as much as like my process worked, it was time consuming, and there was user error involved that we could have eliminated. So we knew a friend of ours who worked for a similar business at the time. He was like, I'm in love with this business just as much as you are. Let's do this thing together. And so he was a very obvious first hire for us because
Oh.
he loved Clutch as much as we did. And I was like, fantastic. And so he's brought an entire new, I guess, frame of mind and sort of technique to the business that Lucy and I just didn't have. And
Mhm.
so he was our first hire. And then now we have a general manager, we have a performance marketer, we have a social and content girl, and then we have a bunch of other people that work for us part-time or in a contractor capacity. I think that there's honestly 60 people on the books that we kind of
Oh, incredible.
pay, which is pretty insane. But I don't know, I wouldn't have it any other way. We very naturally have eventuated, and I think what's important, and Lucy, in our philosophy to hiring, is that we will never hire someone until we have worked in that position.
Mm.
So we know what that job actually looks like. We know how to
Mhm.
train that job. We're not necessarily throwing somebody into the deep, deep end. We train them up as to how we've done the job, and then we
And
completely
then,
trust their vision as to whether they want to change it or transform anything. And I think that that has been really efficient for us. And it also just makes us empathize with their situation as well. So when they come to us with a problem, where they come to us, being frustrated by something, we actually know firsthand what they're talking about and what their problem is, and we can ideate solutions together. And I think that has been a hugely beneficial way for us to continue to develop our staff.
So to that end, I mean, sort of the enrichment that comes with having a team become this large.
Yeah,
The brand is building. You've got all of this engagement with your customer. What
yes,
has that evolution been like? Like use cases in which people are using Clutch. Has that
yeah.
changed over time? I'm curious. Like, what has this led you to now that you've got this sort of infrastructure?
Totally. Well, now it's just like when we first started, it was like, okay, we need to just communicate to people how to use Clutch in a generic way that is a
Hmm.
liquid fashion tape. So it's
Yep.
like the easiest way for people to understand this is on your boobs, really. And
Hmm.
so that's
Yep.
kind of what we started with. And then the first TikTok that actually made us go viral was a spaghetti strap falling off my shoulder, and I clutched it back onto my shoulder. And so
Hmm.
people then started being like, okay, like I can see this is, evolving slightly, but it wasn't too far off the function of,
Hmm.
your chest.
The initial.
And
Yep.
so then once we had that momentum, that virality and that momentum, that's kind of when we went, did you know you could do it on your socks and your slingbacks and your thigh high boots and your
Hmm.
stockings? And that's kind of when people started listening to us, being like, oh, okay. And look, still to this day, the main function and the main way that people think to use Clutch is very much on their chest. And I would say their bike shorts. That's something that really, because running and exercising and obviously, living a healthy life is
Hmm.
incredibly trendy. And so that was probably our second use case that really transformed the business, because that was something that was a problem that couldn't initially be solved by fashion
Yep.
tape. And so that was probably our biggest opportunity there, where people really started to listen to us, where we were showing up in places that people didn't expect us to. And as much as that is expensive, and as much as that is a risk to take, that you might be chewed up and spat out by that
Hmm.
particular market, we kind of knew that that was probably going to be a good one for us. And because I am a runner myself, and sort of, speaking to the running community about that grievance, I kind of had confidence in that. But again, that just came down to listening to our audience and knowing what was resonating with them. And we would just then keep iterating on that, keep iterating on it. And if it didn't land well, we would just do the video slightly differently. And it's amazing what happens when you just maybe flip two sentences around, and then all of a sudden, that's the viral video. And so we sort of just kept on iterating on all of those use cases. And honestly, we now can post hundreds of videos a day, and they're all of different use cases, and one of them's bound to go viral.
Must be nice.
Must be
I'm
nice.
curious, in terms of reception. I mean, obviously, it landed, and people
Yeah.
were seeing themselves, the recognizing the frustration. Obviously, this is a solution to that. Was there ever a time, maybe at the beginning, when people sort of thought it silly or didn't necessarily
Yeah.
get it, as it were?
Yeah, not the women, because they were just like,
Of
great, I
course.
know what it
Yep.
is, and
Hmm.
I need this, and fantastic, you're solving a problem. The men, that's an entirely different thing. And if you want to have a good laugh, go onto our TikTok and Instagram. We have a series which is quite literally me responding to men's hate comments,
Yes.
and they're all just people being like, "Why don't you wear clothes that fit?" It's like, what? Like, there are socks, there are, silk scarves and things like that. That has nothing to do with my boobs falling out of something, but they're
Hmm.
incredibly one-track minded. And that really frustrates me, where I've discovered that a lot of people believe that because they haven't had the experience, the problem doesn't exist. And so I find it funny, because there's nothing else that I can do about that. Like, people are
Hmm.
just going to be like that and respond like that, and that's fine. It's not for you. Keep scrolling. But if you're going to comment, thank you so much for your engagement. Have a good day. So that's kind of the way that I go about that.
Incredible. I love that. It's good. Men in particular, need to be schooled sometimes, put in their place.
Mainly straight men,
Yes,
and that's, and of perhaps a certain generation, and I'll leave
yes,
it at that.
this too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we understand. Talk to me about Shark Tank. What the hell was
Yeah.
that experience like for you? Because I mean, wildly successful. I mean, still being talked about. We're talking about it here now. Yeah, tell me about that.
What happened was, I'll sort of take you back to the beginning of that, and like how that all came to be. So I was on LinkedIn one day, and I had a DM on my LinkedIn saying, from a producer saying, "Hey, have you ever thought about going on Shark Tank?" And he was like, "Would you go on Shark Tank?" And I was
Mhm.
like, "No, thank you though." And the reason why I said no to begin with was because every single episode of Shark Tank I'd ever seen, I love it. I love that show. I had watched that like since I was in high school when my business studies teacher showed it to me for the first time. And we watched the Scrub Daddy episode. And I remember quite literally sitting in that class being like, I'm going to be on that show one day. How crazy is that? Crazy.
A little crazy.
And yeah, Maddie knew who she was from a young age, as the quote says.
Yeah.
And so basically I was just weary, sort of wary about it because I was like, every single episode that I've seen that's gone really viral have all been inherently negative. It's all been sharks being like, what is this? Like, you're a moron. You're asking for too much money. This is a dumb business idea. And in my mind, I was just like, I'm a young girl with a boob glue business. I can see how this edit is going to play out. And so I then went back to my sister and a friend of ours who is now an investor in the business, who owns his own marketing firm. And I was like, what do you guys think? And honestly, we just came to the conclusion that it would be a really great opportunity, but it's going to have to be perfect. And I just went, okay, the work starts now.
Yep.
So what we ended up doing, I ended up getting on the phone to this producer, and he was just put my brain at ease a little bit about it and the whole thing. And he was just like, please, you know, let's get this over the line. And I was like, great. And so we did a bunch of screen testing. You do so much. Every Friday he would call me and be like, how are you feeling? Like, how's your pitch going? Do you want to bounce anything off me? And I actually gave them nothing. I didn't give him the pitch at all. Nothing. So when I turned up that day, all the producers were like, oh my God,
What's she gonna do?
What's she gonna do? And what you don't know is the sharks actually have no idea who you are before you walk into the tank. So it's actually quite authentic TV for reality TV, I guess, if you want to call it like that. It's actually like quite candid. And what it is a 2-minute pitch when you first walk into the tank. They are not allowed to interrupt you. They just will sit and watch you for 2 minutes. And then what happens is when you say a phrase that says sharks, blah, 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 question mark, that is then their cue to start speaking. And then it's a Q&A for 50 minutes. And I was like, oh my God, they could ask me any question in that 50 minutes. So what we decided to do was do a bunch of mock Shark Tank nights. And my sister even found someone who was on Shark Tank France, and I did a call with him at like 11 p.m. at night. I was doing different malfunctions, and like the whole brief was for these people that I was doing the pitch to and iterating the pitch on, and then them asking all these questions about like EBITDA and blah, 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 all of these boring business questions. They just had to absolutely grill me, was the brief with this. And I was like, it was the best practice we could have done, but it was incredibly exhausting. And so then, you know, once we sort of decided, you know, what the stunt would be, which was like, there are a few different ways we could go about it. Do we do bike shorts? Do we do socks? Do we do a plunging neckline? Do we do a strap falling off? And the reason why we kind of got to the strap was because a lot of the camera shots that you can see are kind of just here. And I was like, right, if I've got a malfunction that's with a bike short or a sock, it's just like not going to be in frame, and it's not going to be a reminder of what I've done. And so then I was like, if I do a plunging neckline, it's going to be too distracting, and I don't want it to be about my boobs. So like there were just all of these things that were sort of playing in our head, and it was an incredibly intentional choice at the end of the day to do the stunt that we ended up doing. Then it was finding the right dress that would, you know, one part of it would sit up a little bit higher and be clutched on, and then the other half fall, and it's heavy enough to fall without being too obvious. Anyway, it was this whole thing. And so we did about 4 mock Shark Tank nights where for 3 hours I would get absolutely grilled. About 100 hours went into this pitch, 100 hours. And then on the day when it was finally time to do the pitch, I just remember waking up just being like, thank God this is about to be over. Because it just took so much of my time and energy. And I remember waking up, I got my hair and makeup done for the first time. That was so exciting. And then the studio wasn't that far away. It was only like 10 minutes from my house. Drove there. I had 2 models that were with me. And they were just the perfect energy to kind of bounce off, because you're not allowed to bring anyone else in that isn't a part of your pitch. So you can't have like friends and family there to support you. And so we were kind of just vibing. Like I remember we were bouncing around. You go and like see a set, and then you come back, and, you know, and we were doing all this B-roll stuff. And what was so funny was that before you go into the tank, there's kind of like a confessional you do sort of before and after. And they wanted this B-roll of me looking nervous before entering the tank. And I was so
Not.
unnervous, anti-nervous. And also I was clutched into literally every part of my outfit was just glued onto my body. And so there was this one thing where he was like, oh, can you like play around with your necklace? And like, and I was like, I can't.
Right
It's
now.
on me. I actually can't. And I think that there were just funny moments where I was like, this is ridiculous. And then went into the tank, did the best pitch of all time, and then ended up leaving the show happy days. And what was great was leaving the show knowing that it was going to be successful from the second I left because I didn't say or like once. And I was like, I can't edit this badly at all. Any way this goes, this is not a bad edit. And that was a pretty good feeling, I would say.
Wow. Wow. Well, and
Lot
congrats. I
there,
mean, yeah, that was it worth it? All of that prep? I mean, it sounds like it was. Would you
without
recommend
a doubt.
this? Yeah, yeah.
That's the only approach I would take for something as high stakes as that. I think that perhaps people sort of think that they can wing things, which like sometimes you can. Don't get me wrong. I've also winged things, but like there are certain things that are incredibly serious, and something as serious as your product being on national television and your perception as a founder and your image as a founder, not just your brand, your personal brand. I just it is not worth taking any chances on that. And I think that thank God we did that because I just couldn't have imagined if it went badly.
To that end, what makes a founder fundable? I mean, you talked about the prep work that went in here, thinking through
Yeah.
every single scenario, such that you were not nervous at all, which we love for you.
Yep.
For others, what's that sauce? What does it look like?
Well, I mean, there's no as I like to say, 1,000 ways to skin a cat. I come across founders that are, very different to the way that I operate, but I would say that people being incredibly unrisk averse is probably the main thing that I think bands us all together. I think a lot of people just love taking risks and get the thrill out of the environment being chaotic and high energy and things going wrong all the time and making decisions under pressure. And I think that that's something that I've always been quite good at. And I think that that's probably what held us in good stead. I'm also just like incredibly curious. I like to interrogate problems and I like to face problems head on. I'm not really someone that ever buries my head in the sand. I quite like to overcome problems, and that kind of is what gives me momentum and makes me tick. So knowing that about myself, I think that I kind of knew that I was probably cut out for the startup world. The way that I fell into it was not something that I ever ideated or knew what that would be for a very long time, obviously, but I always knew I wanted to satisfy that craving. And I think you speak to a lot of founders who are just like, oh no, I always knew I wanted to do something and run my own business, but whatever it was, a fleeting moment in time. So I think that, yeah, I'd just say there's a lot of things that make a founder a founder. But I think also what's important is that founders surround themselves with founders because then you feel way less alone and way less like you're failing and more just like you're overcoming problems.
Really, really well put. I'm curious. The genesis of the brand came from something that
Yep.
could be viewed as fairly embarrassing.
Yep.
You turned it into what is a global company. That's not what everyone does. So I'm curious in terms of like ultimately like peeling this back. If there's an inkling that someone has that something could be something, do you encourage them to pursue that? Like
Without a
this
doubt.
sense of curiosity that you're referring to. I'm curious. Like,
Yeah.
what's your advice for people?
I think start, but I think also just know and anticipate that there will be a million problems. You think that it's going to go from your workflow might go from A to B to C. No, I go from like A to Z to G to D to, back around to, all of these things. And I think that just embracing the unexpected and kind of going with the flow of it, I think that you can control things without being in control of the actual workflow, and that's okay. I think that that's just kind of breaking things down into bite-sized pieces and just kind of doing it task by task, not being too overwhelmed or too married to the end product idea or what your North Star is as a business. And I think that that's something that has continued to evolve with us and with our customers. And I think that that's something that is why a lot of businesses do fail, is because they're so obsessed with what they wanted the business to be that they never stop to look up and think what anybody else actually wanted and what they wanted to buy. And I think that that's probably my main advice, is to just continue to just like be a bit more open-minded about what you're building. And from there, you're going to gather a lot more information. You can still focus. You can still be focused on what you think you want to achieve, but it ultimately, the person that's going to buy it is the one that's giving you your answers as well. So just listen and have your ear on the ground.
So with your ear being to the ground, number of years in on Clutch, is this, will there be other businesses? Will this be, are you going to expand the line beyond? I mean, are people
Yeah,
asking for, I'm curious, but I also don't want you to give away something you don't want to give away. And I also don't want to encourage this, like, what's next culture that we sort of tend to do, particularly in the States. But I'm
totally.
curious for Clutch.
Yeah, totally. We've got about 12 new SKUs that we are developing at the moment. So
Okay.
exciting. So we're going to have a lot of new products launched this year and next year, which we're really excited by. I would say that, and I like your point that you were talking about with that culture around like what's next and keep more products and more SKUs. I agree with that to a certain extent, that it's important to perhaps extend your range and have kind of MPD and all of that is incredibly important to continue to develop your business and not remain stagnant or I guess complicit in what you're doing. What I would say though is that this obsession with iterating and launching new products and continuously being relevant a lot of the time is also what makes people go bankrupt.
Of course.
It's incredibly important that your hero product is the hero product and remains the hero product. And that's the one that is then supplementing all the new product launches and all the new manufacturing and all the marketing. And so if you're constantly launching new products and constantly expanding, you're not going to make that money back, and then all you're doing is burning through cash. Which, like, there are ways that you can go about this smartly, whether in a smart way, which is whether you're getting an overdraft or you're doing a cap raise, whatever that might be. But if you're a small business that is continuing to just develop and I guess bootstrap everything with all the profits that you're making, it's not sustainable to be launching new things all the time, because all you're doing is educating customers and things into purchasing new products. So I think just like be tactful about when you launch things, and it's okay to have periods of not irrelevance, but it's okay to have periods where you're just doing your thing. And I think that what I think people are kind of misconstruing their head a little bit too is that we're seeing a lot of celebrity brands at the moment. That's
Oh,
a great
yes.
thing. They are always going to be relevant. Their brand is always going to be relevant because they are, and because their personal brand is, and because it's free for them to be in the media 24/7. And so if you're not a celebrity or not an influencer trying to launch a brand from the ground up, please do not benchmark your relevance and your I guess the buzziness around it against these people, because you are not them, and comparison is the thief of joy. Please just focus on your own lane. So yeah, we are launching new products, but we could have done that years ago, but we just weren't in the financial position to do that. And that's okay. You need to think about the health of your business and the longevity of your business over short-term relevance.
I love that answer. I'm so excited then to see what's next, because it's not going to be garbage, which is so
Not
important because
garbage.
you don't want to torch everything that you've built, on this gamble. So wow.
Totally.
Annabelle, where can people shop? Let's do that before we get into our quick takes. Let's plug for those
Let's
that
do
are
it.
not familiar.
Yep. So you can find Clutch at clutchglue.com or on our socials, TikTok and Instagram, clutch_glue. You can also find us in a bunch of different retailers across the US. We're in CVS, we're in Urban, and also you might find us on your college campus bookstore. So go and have a look and find us there. We're also launching into a bunch of new retailers across this year as well. So you won't be not seeing Clutch around. We will only be getting more annoying. And for me, if you want to find me, my Instagram is at Annabel_Hay on Instagram.
Amazing. Amazing. All right, let's do our quick takes and then we'll let you get back to building this empire. First
Let's do it.
question. If you could instantly master one skill, what would it be?
The blow dry, like just that, like big, voluminous
Yes,
blowout
sure.
look. I cannot do it. I
Hair's
can't.
great though. So, I mean,
Thank you, but I do this with a hair straightener. I'm a curling with a hair straightener kind of gal, which is a good skill,
mhm.
but I would
But you
love to just have
got
that
it.
whole
Got it.
thing
Yep.
going. Yeah.
Yep. Perfect. Perfect answer. What is your current go-to song or album?
Or I would still say I'm really still on role model at the moment. Just saw him at Laneway in Sydney, and the obsession has only continued, I'd say.
We love that. We love that for you.
Or, but
Hmm?
song-wise, Madonna by Vogue is just got to be on at least a couple times a day. It's a bop.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Very relatable.
Yep.
Love that. What is a haircut or color trend that you're secretly obsessed with? Primarily, this is for hair fans on this pod.
No, I
So,
love it.
yeah,
I love it. I am a big hair gal. I actually like love all things hair.
great, great.
Um, I would say if I could pull it off,
Hmm.
uh, people look really great, sort of with orange or that kind of what do you call that color? Like almost that like yeah, orange hair. Like it's incredible.
I'm
People that
making the
can
face that people are maybe not seeing unless they're watching this somewhere. Because you absolutely could pull that off. I don't know what you're.
maybe. I don't know. I was at the hairdresser the other day and I was like,
And they said no. What do you?
do
No,
I?
you could do it. You could definitely do it.
Maybe. We'll see. I might have a mental breakdown one day and just change the whole aesthetic. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll look to your social, see if that's another viral moment.
Maybe.
If yeah, if you could work with a celebrity, so I mean, we just talked about celebrity brands and that mess, but if you could work with someone, and it made sense for Clutch, who would it be,
Yeah.
and what would you do? How would you leverage them?
Think Road for sure, just because it is so relevant and the products are genuinely great. And she's
Hmm.
such an example of like listening to her customer. They know what their customer wants, and just like there's a lot to learn from that brand for sure. What I would love to do though, as a collaboration with
Hmm.
Rode, is the handbag essentials, right? She's really great at making, she's got a lip treatment and that's everywhere and it's on the phone case. And she's got, baby little blushes and things like that that you're sort of popping in your handbag. And we love that kind of synergy with Clutch to be like those things that you just always have on you. And I think that that would be the vision.
I see it. I see it.
Mm,
Yep. All
mm.
right. Last question. We'll let you go. What is a tiny thing that made you smile this week?
Dogs,
Yes. No.
tiny
Perfect.
dogs.
Yes. Yes.
Um, for
We'll take
some
it.
reason, I'm like really, really into the little chihuahuas at the moment. I don't
Who
know why,
isn't?
but I just,
No. No.
I
No. No need to explain. Yes.
the
Perfect.
internet has really changed my mind on them, and now I find them quite endearing.
Great. Annabelle, this was such a pleasure getting to know you and to learn more about Clutch. We're gonna have you come back. So when things are
Let's do it.
launching, let's do it again.
Yay! Thanks so much for having me. This was a pleasure.
Look,
All
I
right,
feel
you're
like
right.
the
I need
energy was
some.
matched, right? Like
Yeah.
this interview, what we were talking about before the interview, it's all part of a whole. And I feel like if there
We
were
covered
ever
a
an
lot.
unhinged episode, it might be this one. And it feels right. I feel I'm
It
so happy
does.
about this. And I never really thought as much about fashion adhesive as I have
Yeah.
as a result of
Well,
this. But now I can't unthink it. And I'm so
right. I need
appreciative
some. I
that
need some
who doesn't?
because I do like the fashion tape and it doesn't work. Like,
Hmm.
because your skin has moisture. I mean, she gets into
All
it,
of
but
the
it does
reasons.
not
Yep.
work. And
Hmm.
so I love a glue. I'll glue it right down. Be sure to hit subscribe, rate, review, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok at Read the Teas, and send in questions to volumeup@theteas.com because we've sparked a lot of potential
We
questions.
are looking forward to you
We
all
are
getting into
here.
our inbox. Let's don't disappoint us, guys. Volume Up is a Tease Media production. This episode was produced by Monica Hickey and Madeline Hickey. James Orbach is our editor and audio engineer. Thank you to our creative team for the custom Volume Up theme song and for putting together the graphics and videos for this episode.